Oh,
at first.
no, you can't. That's how you always break NDA.
How I win. I do that. I do that to break NDA. To be clear, I've never not put a video up at 59, 1 minute before the NDA breaks. So if you want your content fast,
I feel like
subscribe to me.
there's some like Luthen speech in there, but
Yeah.
notifications for a video I'll never watch.
Before we get started, chat, can you let me know if Corey's audio is okay? It looks like it's peaking on mine, but it might also be okay.
Can you just like drag
time.
down the volume meter?
Yeah, I
in
did.
OBS?
That's what
Okay.
I did. It's just
Okay.
there's not a lot of elasticity. I don't know if that affects how it sounds.
Fantastic word. Well, hello there, everyone. Welcome
hold
to
on. I said hold on. The chat hasn't answered yet. Guys, just since we're waiting for chat, we're doing the peaking a little bit. The volume is okay. I'll put them down a little bit, and myself. Okay, guys. Since we got a minute, we are doing our podcast, TapCaf Transmissions, talking about the last 3 episodes of Andor, and yeah. Okay, go ahead, Corey.
All right, hello there, everyone. Welcome to another edition of TapCaf Transmissions. I am one of your hosts, Corey, joined as always by Mr. Eckhartsladder. How are you doing today, Eck?
Good. I'm good. Feeling okay.
Yeah.
Done Andor, so a little bummed.
Well, we may have lost major party guys, but right now you can hang out with a couple of major party guys and talk about Andor Season 2. There you go. That's why I wanted to do the intro. I've been sitting on that all day.
You've been messaging me like every 2 hours just to make sure I can do the intro right.
That's not
like
true.
You're not gonna stop me, are you?
I refuse to talk to you outside of the podcast environment.
That's true.
That's true. Well, so any before we get to the episodes, no, screw other news. We're just going to talk about the episodes.
I don't think there was any other news, honestly. Yep. Like it's been kind of slow.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the end of the Andor season. We know what's coming from. They can't just announce something every week. We had celebrations, so they're going to be dry on news for a while.
Yeah, yeah. I got a book. You probably got it too yesterday.
Which one? Oh yeah. The trials.
Yeah.
I think we're allowed to say that. Other people were posting.
I'm gonna read it for sure. I'm gonna read it.
You're gonna read it this time?
Final High Republic book. Yeah.
Okay. Well, speaking of the High Republic, we did get an Andor High Republic Easter egg. We had the hospital named after Lena So, the Chancellor from the High Republic period. But what are your thoughts overall on the season?
Excellent season of Andor. Heartbroken it's over. The defining feature of this season, I said this in my review, was the fact that they had to truncate it into one season, what was initially 4.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God they did, because I honestly believe if they had kept with the original plan, we wouldn't have got to see it through till the end. I just don't think, like, the streaming universe is a lot different now than it was when Andor was approved. So I don't think 5 seasons would have gotten all the way through. So although I've got some issues with how things were structured this time around, I'm so thankful we got it done. And regarding the season as a whole, in a way, like it's a little less, I thought it was a little less neat and well put together than season 1, but I think I liked it more just because it was so, like, every scene of, especially the last 6 episodes, was just so chock full of like pure emotion.
Yeah.
Like for the second to last arc, it was dread, just like pure dread. And then for the last 3 episodes, it felt just like something kind of had changed. And like Coruscant, which already was a lot different than the prequels, the little bit of like life and happiness and levity that was there was completely gone. So yeah, overall, the highs of this season were so high, so emotional. Like, I don't know what else you could ask for.
Yeah, I guess before we get too far into the content, do you have any thoughts on the structure, the release structure, now that it's all out, the 3 episodes per week situation?
Yeah, I was always in favor of that release structure. I think it's the only way to do it for this kind of show, where it clearly was segmented into weekly blocks of 3. I mean, I think people would have been a bit unhappy with some of the single episodes releasing.
Like for personal reasons, I do still kind of wish we had 12 weeks of one episode, just
The
because
reviews
it's
have
a
been
lot
really
to.
good
Yeah, but
as well.
it's been so hard to keep up with stuff. But that's a me problem. That's not really the show's fault. And I do think we would have ended up with probably more of what people said about season one, anyways, where there would have been episodes that I think episode 10 probably would have had more complaints
Yeah,
about it. But
yeah,
having 10, 11, and 12 all together, I think any of those get kind of sidestepped. I really love getting a lot more Clea this week. I think that she's been a
yeah.
great character that's been slowly building uh, over the
Leia, you
whole
mean
season.
clone Leia?
No, I don't mean clone Leia Dave Filoni. Did I? So someone is going to be able to take Clea and also Bix and Cassian's kid and do something just off the wall ridiculous with their backstory, which that's just the way it's going to be, isn't it?
What do you mean?
So someone's just going to decide that their kid is like the stupid theory that was going around is like, oh, they're going to show that Bix and Cassian were Poe Dameron's parents, which is
Oh, yeah.
like, no, they're not. But now someone could do it.
Yeah.
Not with
Yeah.
Poe in particular, but like just
I
now
mean,
these
Poe is
characters
only
are
a
all
few
out there
years
to be done
younger.
with whatever.
Poe was born. I can't remember if I think he was conceived at Endor or born at Endor. I don't remember. So he's only a few years.
I think it's the Andor celebrations that he was.
Yeah, he's getting it. I did. So yeah, people are also saying that people's media comprehension is not great. Like we've seen that
Yeah.
when Star Wars fans are given a slightly more challenging show. And I'm saying this as someone who loves the Filoni slop. Like I'll sit down rubbing my hands with pleasure before every episode of Ahsoka.
Look, I love myself
But,
a nice little lightsaber duel. I'm
for
not
sure.
talking shit about the rest. I love Ahsoka. I thought it was really good. Well, I thought it was really fun.
But like people saying that Clea was Cassian's sister. Like
That one was not gonna work out. Like not just reading
one,
comprehension. They're entirely different.
they're different children. They look somewhat similar in that they're like sort of the same age and have brown hair, but like they're different people. And they're like, why was Cassian dreaming of it? Because he's about to walk off and die, basically.
So speaking of, well, he definitely dreams of his sister every night, and it's just that it's a mystery he's never going to be able to solve. But speaking of Clea's backstory, we did have Luthen in episode 9. He has his confrontation with Daedra in the ISB. Daedra's champing at the bit to just get access. She finally has him cornered, blows the whole operation essentially, doing exactly what Blevin, the guy from season 1, was saying that she was going to do. And yeah, he was right. The haters were right. So Deidre's not doing so well right now. But Luthen ends up on a ventilator in the hospital.
What happened to Blevin, by the way? Did he die or did he just
I don't remember. Did he? I don't think he died. I don't think ISB member. Maybe he transferred out because he didn't want to work with Deidre anymore.
Yeah.
But
I liked how, you know, the ISB by the end is like the last 3 episodes have such a dark tone. Like the rebels, you know, I could feel the weight of like what was about to happen the entire time. And for the ISB, like they are completely cannibalizing themselves. Like it's the classic.
Man, you say Deidre's name wrong once and the fucking chat jumps on it. Shut the fuck up.
Shut up, chat. But yeah, like we got the biggest ever leopard eating face reaction with Partagaz, and that was another moment where I saw like the reading comprehension is low. People are like, "Oh, Partagaz dying, it's his little act of rebellion." Like, no, like that's completely
his act of rebellion to not end up on Narkina with her.
Right. So people are like, "Oh, yeah, he's doing that just to like shun the Emperor." Like, no, he's doing that for one because he knows what's about to happen. Like that's why in the next scene that he shoots himself and the other ISB officers like it's like just chill to the stormtroopers. But he just can't even like. I love that moment because he realizes that like what's going on across the galaxy, he doesn't understand it because he's a authoritarian asshole, but it's beyond stopping at this point. And that was like probably my favorite theme of this series and of season 2 especially, and of Rogue One, kind of going back to Nemec's manifesto, where it's like every little action moves our line forward.
Yeah.
So even if you die, even if you're just a protester at Gorman who's dying, or you're Cassian or whatever, even if no one remembers you, you're moving the line forward. And what
Yeah.
the Empire has is unnatural, so we're gonna win in the end.
Yeah, like we keep on seeing that the Empire is creating the means of its own destruction, and the ISB, Partagas describes them as a medical institution essentially in
Yeah.
season 1, and that rebellion is a disease essentially, or different types of dissent are a disease. But it's the actions of the ISB that keep perpetuating the things that drive public opinion and efforts against them the most. Like they're always creating their own new enemies,
Mhm.
and that's just there's no way for them to operate that wouldn't make that happen, that wouldn't cause that.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I put a video out kind of like theorizing that the material, whatever it was on Gorman, was I never thought it wasn't important, but I did think they probably could have found a way around it. Um, but we see like the Empire at this point is just looking for opportunities
Yeah.
to crack down on people. And yes, Gorman, they got the minerals out of it, but they also got to test this big process where they spend. It's implied that they've been at this for a long time because at the beginning of I think it was episode, whenever they had the meeting, the mountaintop meeting,
Yeah, the first
they
one.
say they've been working on the Gorman propaganda for years now, kind of
Yeah.
seeding public opinion on the Gormans. So, which is funny because that would have been long before they knew that there was no alternative for the material. Um, so I think they had a plan like that in mind. And one thing that I thought was really interesting that I only noticed on my second viewing is when they're watching the broadcast afterwards, the reporter says, "We'll soon have to learn the price we pay for our security,"
Mhm.
meaning that like what's happened at Gorman is going to be used galaxy wide to crack down. And a year from now, the Empire's gotten even more aggressive, where they've parked a Star Destroyer over Jeddah. They're looting the temples. They're
Not that
I
Saw is
kind of
on Jeddah.
no,
No, that
he's
isn't. What makes you say
yeah.
that, Mon Mothma?
You've got spies. You're following my every move. I'm not on Jeddah though. But one thing I kind of felt watching this season that I guess I should have picked up before, but I never really, is it almost feels like, okay, so what happened after the end of the Clone Wars? That was like a big jump where like a lot of things came together, and on the other side, everything is significantly worse. Now it kind of feels like the Empire is at another really big jump where like over a short period of time, things are going to get significantly worse
Yeah.
with Gorman and the Death Star. So now it's time for everyone to stand up. And that was something that I kind of appreciated a bit more watching the show and these last 2 arcs.
Yeah, and I almost wonder how much of the Gorman style propaganda is something that's just being done by default, just against almost every world that they can do it against, just to keep
Mhm.
people as separated as possible. And if there's even the potential of needing to extract resources in a uh, less than moral or ethical way, then they have that option. Like we know that kind of thing goes on with like the Wookiees. You have to assume at least that there's probably some kind of propaganda against the Wookiees or other alien species, even though the Wookiees were allies of the Republic during the Clone Wars, but then they're part of this huge slave labor program. Then you have like Geonosians getting wiped out, although no one actually cares about them.
Yeah, they're just
Lasat.
bugs.
So the
The
Empire
bugs
is all
built
over the place
arenas
here.
though, like that's what I want to pull. Yeah. Like whenever people talk about like the Republic flamethrowing the bugs, they're just bugs. Like the bug has literally built arenas for entertainment.
Yeah.
They're pretty smart bugs.
Yeah, they're just kind of gross. On says
Yeah.
this, but they're kind of gross. They don't deserve to get flamethrowered though.
No.
We have
No, they don't.
so we have Luthen ends up in the hospital. Leia does her infiltration mission, which that's got to be a tough one. Like going through all this effort to get into the hospital, so
Kill your dad.
dangerous. Just with the like, if this goes well, the the positive outcome is that you have killed your dad, which
Yeah.
is that's tough.
Yeah, that was tough. I I liked how yeah, that was a good scene, and I I think we all knew that suicide was the most likely option for Luthen
Yeah,
because there's no way he was going to let himself be taken.
yeah,
I wasn't expecting it, even though I should have. I thought he was going to try to knife Dedra, which I think he was just trying to buy time, honestly, so that his machine would be fully destroyed.
yeah.
Um,
I thought that was the direction he was going when he pulled out the knife
yeah.
and was talking about the two items of undetermined provenance or questionable provenance being
Hmm.
her and the knife.
Yeah.
But uh, like, as soon as he's holding that knife and looking the other way, it just feels like that should have been a moment for her to realize, like maybe things aren't
Also,
going
the
super
gut,
well.
man, you like slash the gut. Come on, that's a
Yeah,
tough way to go.
that was the wrong. But like, if she sees his arm going like up to the throat, like
That's
maybe if
true.
you're, cause like if you're facing that way, maybe you can angle that up and get that in there. But it's
I've
tough.
thought
It's
about
questionable.
overtly killing myself before in a shop.
Well, I didn't before this episode, but after it happened, I had the same thought of like, the gut's a tough one to go for, especially with Star Wars medicine. Someone just sprays a salve on there, and then you're probably good. But this has been sitting in a store. It's like 20 million years old. There's probably a
Yeah,
lot of bacteria on that guy that you're really hoping get the job done while you're out.
he really should have. He really should have put bombs in the store.
That might be a a little too many
No
casualties
way.
for
No way
Luthen.
would he.
No,
No.
you
No
don't think
way.
he has the even. I mean, I know he killed Lonnie in the middle of the street, but
No.
Lonnie got into this fight.
It
he was
blew
on
up
the
an entire
board.
bridge, man. There's probably people on that.
Eh, that
Besides,
was,
they're like upper levelers on Coruscant. Like,
I guess.
yeah,
There's probably like 10,000 people that die on Coruscant. There's maybe 5 on that bridge on Naboo.
eh, that's a
But
them problem.
while she's doing this mission, or like in the wake of Luthen stabbing himself, we have the flashback scenes showing how Clea and Luthen met. Uh, it was it's not explicit. Did they say anything in Declassified? I haven't watched it.
I haven't watched it yet.
Okay. I don't know if it's been identified exactly where that was, but my takeaway was that like this was early Empire. Luthen was a soldier
Yeah.
for the Empire, and part of why he is so staunchly opposed to them and why he's willing to go to the lengths he is because he already kind of feels responsible for what the Empire has done. Like
Yeah.
they've made him complicit, so he has in his mind more carte blanche to just do what he
Yeah.
needs to because he's already been ruined by this. He's
You've
already been tainted by
killed
the
my
Empire.
soul, so yeah. Yeah, I like that theory. Someone in chat said they didn't say, but that
Okay.
he obviously participated in killing of her people
Yeah.
of some sort.
There's been some stuff in the past in the season that kind of implies that the late Republic is seen as kind of equivalent to the Empire, like Deidre Miro talking about being raised in like the Imperial Kinder blocks.
Yeah.
Even though when she was a kid, it would have been still the Republic, so maybe it could be the same situation where he was fighting as in the Republic earlier on, and then still sees that uh, as the Republic, but or as the Empire.
Hmm. Yeah, I kind of felt like he might be sort of kind of like what Cyril was doing, like a corporate security force, but like maybe for
Yeah,
maybe I don't know. Yeah. Like because his outfit didn't look imperial, but it definitely seemed like he was doing imperial stuff.
yeah, but in the early year or two, like the first
Yeah,
year or two, you can kind
yeah,
of see there. It gave me a lot of like Solo Mimban feelings,
yeah,
but
for sure. but then they go off and he radicalizes her basically, but he's worried about radicalizing her, which I thought was a nice touch. He like takes her to Naboo, and I feel like he does that so she can see that there are nice places in the galaxy left. And like
Well,
if
I don't know if it's about there being nice places in the galaxy, just that everywhere is kind of in play, and that this is what it really means to be part of this fight. That you're not just going to be on a battlefield and this happens. This is everyday life
yeah,
that's going to be impacted by it.
I just kind of felt like he wanted her to like he was giving her nice food, and
Yeah,
I felt like he wanted her to see that she could close her eyes to it like a lot of
yeah,
people do, and
yeah.
she
Like
she didn't
it's an
obviously.
option to just not participate. But I don't know that like Naboo was chosen because it's particularly nice that anywhere in the galaxy could be this place, either
Mhm,
on the peaceful side or we get it involved
mhm.
in our little war.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the flashbacks were nice. The firing squad was quite dark. Got a kid being shot on a wall.
Hmm.
Pretty dark shit. Yeah, I'm not surprised she joined, and I really liked. I was going back to edit it, and I noticed that, which I guess a lot of people have seen now. Before they break off, he tells her to move, just like he did back in the day,
Hmm.
which was a nice touch.
Gotta move when he says so. It's the one rule
Yeah,
of rebellion.
gotta listen to that. I do think there was more tenderness to their relationship than we saw. It's just he's a darkly
Yeah,
pragmatic man.
yeah. Like there were a lot of parts in the rest of the season where I was thinking, oh, why is she putting up with him right now? And
Yeah.
this was a lot of depth added to his both his character and their relationship, which I think was necessary for his death to really have. Like, I don't think anyone was surprised by his death coming. So I think this kind of work was needed to add some emotional weight to it because I feel like that could have been undermined by the fact that like everyone kind of knows.
I thought the show did such a good job of making him like a mythical figure
Yeah.
that like the like just that the rebels talk about in like hushed tones
Hmm.
almost like he made like he basically forced the rebellion together. He before there was a rebellion, he was bringing organization into the chaos. I thought that was a nice little touch.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting how the rest of the rebel leadership was talking about him. How like Willman and Cassian were kind of tainted for having been associated with him as if they're like under his spell in some way.
Yeah,
And Cassian's like, no, like I know him. I know he's a
good
fucking
and bad.
dick,
Yeah.
but like this, you can't throw away what he's done. Like you can't disregard what he's done just because of that. But
He's the dick, but like he's hard. He's
he's
the
our dick.
rebellion's dick.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's dicking over the empire.
Yeah. They're,
He's
that's
pissing in
their
the right
tagline.
direction. Sometimes a strong wind comes, but
Yeah.
generally he
I
means well.
I just can't stand Jebel. That guy is so useless.
And the Tarasi, Terrace Senator, both of
Mm-hmm.
them are just hate
Almo,
both
is
of them.
that her name?
Oh no, yeah. She was in Bad Batch as well, I believe.
Yeah.
But I mean, I hated them in obviously you're supposed to hate them because they're
They're the
and to
Op
be
4.
fair, like we know because we've seen A New Hope that they do in fact have a Death Star, but you know, on the other hand, you can't really blame them for being suspicious,
Yeah.
especially because they know that that Luthen is a bit wacky
Mm-hmm.
and that the ISB is like really trying to track him down. Um, yeah, I had to go back and watch the first 20 minutes of Rogue One because I just assumed they knew of the Death Star for sure, but I guess that's
No.
what that first scene is really, and then obviously what's his name comes
Tivik.
in. No, the other character in Rogue One,
There's so many of them.
the freighter pilot.
I don't
You know, the
remember
guy who
any.
gets captured by Sods. Isn't it your favorite Star Wars movie?
Yeah, I don't know the fucking character names. That's not the point of Rogue One.
Why am I forgetting his name?
It's Bud something. Fuck.
Chat, help me out here.
Bodhi.
Bodhi Rook. Yeah,
Yeah, like I said. Blah, blah, blah.
yeah,
Was that not close enough?
that was pretty close.
Yeah. I knew it was a B.
Scherzo says the contrast between Mon and Bale felt very Mask of Fear. Yeah, except they're both kind of on the same page now, and I like to see Bale actually at Yavin.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like their relationship is a lot closer here than what we get in Mask of Fear. Like they're more oppositional there. Here we're seeing a moment where they are opposed on a specific issue,
Yeah.
but like I think you do get a sense that they are working together better. Like you have that kind of joke between her and Bale. What I didn't appreciate though is that his cloak makes it look like he has no arms. It was
Yeah, it looks
very
like they didn't resize the cloak for the new actor. And he was like significantly smaller than Jimmy.
yeah, he's like swimming in it, and then at the end he finally stands up, and you can see his arms moving. But when he's sitting down, there's no arms there.
I thought they did such a good job on the Yavin base generally. And they had to like they saved a lot of stuff, but like reading some of the behind the scenes stuff, a lot of it had to be redone, or the Yavin base also had to be expanded just because there were a lot more scenes.
Yeah,
And they were like remaking outfits. Like Draven, they saved his outfit, but Cassian's they didn't. So that's kind of funny. And they got so many, side actors or background actors back. I did notice that Radiss's I was like, yeah, he looks a little different, and they had to redo his face completely. Like
hmm
I guess they're just tossing them away, but
well, was he all practical in Rogue One as well? I guess he was. He must have been
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
all Mon-Cal.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that they wouldn't have had that still. Like that's seems like
Yeah.
you might assume you're gonna have a Radis somewhere someday, but
Yeah, I mean, he can be a background Mon Cala as well.
yeah.
Not to be racist, but
Well, you
I
were
definitely
so.
I want to do I really want to do a Rogue One rewatch. I think I've never done like a watch along for my Patreon, but I think I'm going to do that like a commentary
Yeah,
for people who are
could be fun.
interested. Yeah.
We could do that as a Tap Calf episode between some of the Legacy of the Force ones as well, rather
That'd
than
be fun.
doing all comics for that. I
Yeah.
do want to do the X-Wing comics sooner than later. You mentioned that
Mhm.
earlier, and I think that would be a good idea as well. But especially because you get so
So
many
anything
characters that are overlapping.
Oh yeah. Anything else for the episode 10 that you were really it was pretty linear episode in that we had it was Luthen. I guess we could talk a bit more about the ISB finagling where Krennic, that scene where he puts his finger on Dedra's, like Dedra, the actress, she got like pretty roughed up in like a few
Yeah,
scenes where they wouldn't have been able to use stunt doubles. Like when she's being choked by Cyril, which I mean, I'm not saying he actually choked her. Obviously, they've got ways of doing it, but it's still obviously not pleasant. And he's shaking her around, and then fucking Krennic just puts the finger on the head, and then he basically tosses her down in the chair. Like she is getting whipped around.
yeah.
And she deserves it as well. Like not from Krennic, but she's terrible and she's gotten worse. Like one thing that I find really interesting is she's a really good example of what happens when you have maybe some moral quandaries with what you're doing, but you don't push back at all.
hmm Does she though?
I feel like maybe I do feel like her breakdown at the end of last episode was not necessarily because of what was going on with Cyril, more so
You mean
because
that
of
when she's on Narkina, or
or sorry, I mean at the
at the end
last arc
of
after
9?
yeah or 8 after the massacre.
I mean, yeah, part of that does come with like seeing what you're pushing for actually in action,
Yeah,
but I don't know. She seems like a true believer to me,
yeah,
and
she might be.
doesn't like. She seems like really offended that everyone at the ISB doesn't understand that she's just her putting all this top secret information together was necessary for her to solve her riddle, but it's really just
Yeah,
packaging
she's
information for the rebellion.
the actress for her gave a really good character breakdown of how she read, like she said, she read up on psychopaths and how they used people
hmm
after the second arc. And obviously, we saw that much more with Cyril, but Scherzo also has a good point. I love the always bigger fish aspect of Krennic being a monster here, then reduced to groveling before Vader and Rogue One. Yeah, I like that as well. And you sort of get the feeling that as I talked about how I felt like the Empire was taking another darker jump. One aspect of that does seem to be sort of the dissolution of even these like imperial like bureaucracies, like the
Yeah.
or not even like the ISB is eating itself, and eventually Vader and Palpatine are going to take a lot more power for themselves. So
Yeah, it's just the playing out of what Mon Mothma's speech was, that eventually Palpatine is the monster that will come for them all.
Yep.
And that's true not just of the people who are opposing him, that is just the natural end state of the system that he's setting up. And the ISB is like it's the quintessential agency for that kind of thing. Like that is what it exists to do,
that's his job.
is root out the people. It's like it's it's partially responsible for internal compliance with the New Order. So they're like kind of the worst of the worst.
Yeah, I kind of wish we would have got more of that, maybe because the ISB's job is supposed to be, because we do hear of Imperial intelligence because Yularen works
Yeah.
with intelligence, and I think he ISB. I think he's intelligence. Either way, we get some mentions of intelligence in the series, and the distinction is mostly that the like intelligence is external and ISB is more internal, as in citizens of the Empire, but also largely, there's a few books that go over this, but also largely like officers within the Empire and loyalty stuff.
I think Yularen is just ISB.
Okay. Oops.
But
My mistake. But yeah, I feel like if we had gotten more, like if we had gotten those 4 seasons instead of the one, we would have seen more of them hunting for Lonnie.
Mm-hmm.
Because eventually they would have put the clues together that all these fuck ups there's clearly a leak of some sort.
Yeah. Yeah, and so you have Lonnie there that's getting Dedra's files. You have Dedra putting together all of these different Imperial programs into the one thing that it is, the Death Star. And then you have Partagaz, who's got to take the fall for that as well. And Krennic is trying to protect him in some way, but his influence only goes so far.
Clearly they had some prior history together.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean,
well, I think it's just another sign of like what the institution is versus what the individual people are. Yeah. Where the way the institution works, like Partagaz getting kind of turfed and getting pushed to the point where he's going to kill himself, is kind of the way it's designed to be. But within that, you have the people who are leadership within that institution kind of trying to push against it when it's people that they care about that are being impacted. And like we know that Krennic is going to be taken out by his own weapon in a couple days as well. Very few people in this show are going to be alive in like 3 days.
I mean, the exact same thing happens to Krennic too, where he fails and it's Tarkin kills him. He knows he's on the surface.
Yeah.
Like, you don't think Tarkin, and then Tarkin himself in a different way. It is true. That's like, it does have a very dark feeling to it where like half these rebels are dead. Every single person on that rebel strike team dies. Not a single person. Some of the pilots survive, obviously, and the people in the ship survive, but no one who goes to the surface survives. Not a single person. Melshi, everyone I'm running by, that alien with the big mouth, they're all gone.
Yeah. Like and like everyone in the ISB, in that ISB room, is just kind of a rat fucker trying to get the rest of their people out. And there's this sort of Damocles over them at all times that they have to be aware of, that like it's coming for them. Like they can get a leg up on their colleagues for now, and then how long is that going to last?
Yeah, especially where like I mentioned, things are clearly crumbling.
Yeah.
Like, especially once the Death Star comes into play, and obviously, Palpatine, one of the first things we get George Lucas obviously saw this as a thing too, where he initially imagined the Republic slowly turning into the Empire, and it being a thing that had taken probably more than 19 years. And once the Death Star is built, like he even in the movie he mentions the Senate's been dissolved and they still have some power because Leia threatens Vader with it, and the other Imperial officer on the Tantive 4 says if word gets out to the Senate, this will generate sympathy for the rebellion. So clearly, even then, they still have power.
Well, they think
But
they
once
do.
yeah, they think they do. Once the Death Star is built, Palpatine is like, yeah, I'm good. Like, we're just gonna do this the way I wanted to with big lasers and ships and stuff.
And then you have the subtext or even actual text that, as far as Tarkin is concerned, the Death Star is also a way that he can supplant Palpatine in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I was thinking like, well, like why does like if you're Krennic like, and it you can't identify really with these purely evil characters, but why? Like why do you want to rise in power anymore so you can spend more time in Palpatine's fucking plush offices? Smells like old man and vinegar, and he's got Massa Amida running around and Slime Moore looking nasty. Like,
Yeah, it's just you get to do
Yeah.
more of your little projects. You get
Yeah.
to be in charge of the fates of these people, and the guy who can do Force lightning doesn't do it to you.
But it's kind of funny because it's like if you got to be in the Empire, the more I've seen in Star Wars, the more it feels like you're better off to be a guy who's just kind of on an outpost somewhere. Hopefully, Kyle Katarn doesn't show up with questions. Like you don't want to be on Kejim, but like
Like maybe there's someone somewhere who thinks like if I can get to the top of the ISB, I can put in my healthcare reform on Korrilag.
yeah. Skirza says, I think a lot of them sincerely cannot conceive of the Empire not existing, so they see their job as mostly accruing political power. Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Yeah, well,
That's definitely what Dedra's like.
yeah, Partagaz kind of gives that conception of what they're doing, like in season 1, where he is talking about rebellion as kind of this disease or dissent as this disease, not just in the means that they have to take it out, but in its effects. It can degrade the order that they think is so important. And Luthen addresses that to Dedra in his final scene with her, where she's going to come face to face with so many more things that disgust her, lack of order that disgusts her.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
it's everywhere now.
And like there's always the irony behind that the organization they work for has more internal divisions than like a really
And no
bad episode
law,
of The Office.
no actual law whatsoever.
Yeah, like the law is whatever the people who are in power want to do. Like they can talk about protecting against disorder, protecting against these people who are a danger to the stability that order provides. But when it comes to getting the information they need from Luthen, Dedra doesn't care about what the impacts are going to be on that hospital wing when she's saying, get all these fuckers out of here, this is just for him. Like whatever
Like
goal
Beyonce.
they might think they have, they completely lose sight of that.
Yeah, that's totally true. And Chad is also pointing out, like, for me personally, if I were in Imperial, I would have stopped at like Krennic's position because he's got the best outfit out of any of them. He guy's got the cape, he's got the gloves, he's got the all whites.
Yeah,
like,
we brought most of that from home. He used to just wear that, and
so
no one's told him to
expensive.
stop.
It's just crazy how many good Imperials we've gotten from, Rogue One and now Andor. Krennic has always been amazing. And I was watching the first 20 minutes and I was like, man, he's so sassy in this show.
Yeah.
People call him like Queen Krennic on Twitter. But he's got some sassy moments in the movie too, like when he goes to visit Galen and Galen's talking about Lyra being dead, and then she pops up and he goes, "It's a miracle, Lyra back dead."
Ben Mendelsohn's great.
Yeah, he is great. Just I do think, I've always said, I know it's your favorite. I do think Rogue One's got pretty weak character work. But obviously this like retroactively does a ton. Yeah, like Cassian, it's actually pretty incredible how well Rogue One picks up right from this, where he
Yeah.
seems like the exact same character. It's incredible how little he aged, and
Mhm.
obviously, the makeup. His hair looked a bit funky in the last arc, but the makeup
Well,
and
the
whatnot.
hair is kind of the same thing with Mon Mothma, where they were trying to get back to
Yeah,
Rogue One style. Where I guess on Yavin, like hairdressers are a scarce resource that they need to conserve. That's gotta suck for both Genevieve O'Reilly and Diego
yeah.
Luna, where they've got to just have the worst hair possible for compared to
Yeah.
everything else they've done.
He's like, I was a fake artist just a couple years ago.
But I think even season 2 specifically, as far as doing stuff for Cassian's character, well, I think since Narkina 5, people have kind of come around on him more. But I remember the early discourse around season 1 being like, "Oh, the show's called Andor, but he's like the
He's least
worst."
interesting character.
Yeah, and I think that has changed by now. Like I think season 2 solidly solved a lot of those problems, even if like the segments with Mon Mothma, I was more interested in at the start. I didn't feel like Cassian's character was as much of a question mark there. And I think that kind of has been the case since we had the prison arc, where I think that was really where he came alive.
Yeah, it's funny. There was no like, usually when you watch a show that jumps around a lot, there's one part you don't like.
Hmm.
For me, like during the Aldani arc, it was a little slow when they were mission prepping. I was like, I'd much rather be in Coruscant. But
Yeah.
in this one, whether they're with Luthen, Mon Mothma, Cassian, except when he was on Yavin 4, like all in the first arc, all of it was great. So
Yeah.
yeah, and part of that was having Bix to kind of like roll off of, like not just as a love interest, but we saw, a different side of his character, especially as he's become unhinged and wants to quit. Not unhinged, but he's been affected by everything he's done and he
He is
wants to quit.
unraveling a bit, yeah.
Unraveling, yeah.
Yeah, like having these relationships definitely helps. Like Brasso, who's still alive as well. How they had all those scenes in these last few episodes hanging out because he's the best. And then, like you were saying on Twitter,
His wife was
Cassian
there,
used
which is nice.
his iframes to get out of Scarif. So it'll be nice to see what him and K2 get up to later
Well, crazy
on.
how he dodged roll he dodge
Dodge
rolled
roll the
the
Death Star.
yeah.
He parried at the right time. He parried at the right time.
He clicked Y. The Empire didn't know what to do. He drank a potion of no death. It was pretty sick.
He's just floating in space. We need to send someone to get him, but he's still alive. He's still alive. He's still fine.
Yeah, he's fine.
But speaking of characters who are definitely still alive, Bail Organa.
Yeah, I liked. I really liked the actor. I mean, I would have liked Jimmy just because I love him as an actor. But yeah, they were really smart in getting the introduction out of the way in the second arc, and by the third and especially the fourth arc, I had no problem picturing Benjamin Bratt as Bale.
Yeah,
it's gonna be hard with Ahsoka season 2 as well. Like that's gonna be a big one.
Yeah, because he's gonna show up a lot there. Because again, he is still alive. He's gonna come back with. Look,
a fleet of Starhawks.
When would he have gone back to Alderaan? Why would he have gone back to Alderaan? We're days out from episode 4.
Well, someone put in that he's going back to warn his people about the Death Star. Like what are they gonna do?
Yeah. No one thinks they're gonna go for Alderaan with that.
Alderaan didn't have iframes, unfortunately.
It did have a shield.
For a second, yeah.
Then it didn't. Rip.
Yeah.
Do you think there's much chance we'd see Vel or Clea show up in anything else? Think they're going to be picked up by any other show?
I was like, of which characters, Vel, Clea, or Willman, will we see again? I think they're not going to touch any of them. I think I could see them using a character like Willman in like as an intelligence officer later on. But yeah, I don't think so, and I don't mind that. Like I was never on the. I never. Oh, the Leafs just got scored on again. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, I was never on board with the idea that they were all going to die, and like that was kind of one of the difficulties of this season. For one, the format, and for two, that they're working towards a beginning, and like you can't just kill everyone right before Rogue One because it's not really natural. But you're also going to struggle a bit to give like you gotta prepare the characters for Rogue One and also somehow give the show a meaningful
Yeah.
ending, and that's a pretty tall task, and they did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, the thing that usually gets brought up is like, oh, well, if they don't die, where are they during X, Y, and Z? Like the base is
Anywhere.
full of people who until now have been no names. Like we don't see Luke interact with everyone. It's not like people who weren't friends with Luke or with Cassian just are NPCs to Cassian as he's walking around. Like he probably knows everyone in base. Everyone's got a story to tell. And I think Rogue
Yeah.
One, or I think Andor, really emphasizes that, like uh the stories of people who aren't the main characters in life all the time. It's more of a democratization of the Star Wars story.
I thought Clea might be the remember in Empire Strikes Back when there's the woman on like the sensors.
Mm-hmm.
She's like one of the only
Does
women
look
who
kind of
gets a line
similar.
in.
Yeah,
Yeah, that might be her.
look, it's
Although
canon.
she's got a short story in a certain point of view, but that's not strictly canon.
Yeah, from a certain point of view, that could just be Clea going under an alias.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's going to say differently?
Or taking her birth name back.
If Cassian is just not born on Fest anymore, then Clea can be.
Well, that's not even her real name. Like,
Yeah.
maybe she just took her real name back.
Does she even remember it?
That's a good point. Also, I got a donation. NF
Brag
says,
about it.
why'd they send so few stormtroopers to capture Clea, and why weren't they wearing helmets? Rest in peace, Hurt. Yeah, Hurt got fucked up.
He lived up to his
Have you ever
name.
seen Total Recall?
Yeah.
There's a scene where they're like on the escalator, and Arnold uses the one guy as a meat shield. He gets shot like 90 times. It's awesome, and it reminded me a lot of that. I guess they're not stormtroopers; they're ISB. I guess
Yeah.
they're like a quick response team. They're not really. I guess they don't need full stormtrooper gear. And Darth
What good is it
Amalgamation
doing?
points out, yeah, doesn't help much
It's not.
at all.
It's more. It's more of an aesthetic.
Yeah, just for vibes.
I think that is based on ISB trooper setup from prior material, maybe even older legend
Okay,
stuff. I
cool.
have to look because we do
Probably from
have.
the Imperial source book. They got some cool stuff in
Yeah,
there for ISB.
we added some ISB troopers to the mod a few months ago, and if they're the same, then that would be uh
Pretty epic.
that would mean that we're right.
I kind of I thought they might just keep getting routed through different apartments.
Mm-hmm. Just a different one.
Spaceman says, really glad Melshi ran back inside the apartment. Yeah, me too. But I mean, he had to make it to Rogue One, right?
Yeah. Well, you say that, but I think most people seem to have not realized that Melcho. They don't realize he
He looks
was
a
in
lot
Rogue
different.
One. Don't realize it was him in season 1 on Narkina. Don't
I
realize it
did
was
not
him
remember
at the
him.
base. Like he's a very. We talked about this a bit last week, where he's a very generic looking guy, which
Yeah,
is
if I wasn't a YouTuber, no shot would I have known that he
yeah.
was in Rogue One. I would have rewatched the show and been like, oh my god, that's Melshi. Or I wouldn't have said that's
I
Melshi. I would have said, oh, that's unnamed.
yeah. I don't like I wrote him out of my head.
He's got some good scenes on the beach.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned this, but I went to my dad's house and he was watching Rogue One on fucking cable. It was like the last half, so the best part, like the beach scene, the space battle, kind of he started right after Cheddar got blown up, or no, right after the attempted assassination. So I got to see all the good stuff,
Mhm.
and I was like, okay, there's more Melshi than I thought, and they even say his
Yeah.
name a few times.
Well, the problem is like you were saying, the character work isn't the best in Rogue One. So you kind of
Yeah,
end up thinking about them as like an RPG party. And unfortunately, Cassian and Melshi are in the same class. So if you cut someone out, like you're not going to forget Bodhi because he flies the ship, even if you forget his name. You're not going to forget K2 because he's like the tank, the droid, the brawler. Uh, Jin's kind of your infiltrator. Then you have your other heavy Chirit's buddy. Fuck, I forget his name. Then you have Chirit as
Phase,
their wizard
phase.
phase. So Melshi is the one that kind of lifts out the easiest. If you're gonna wipe
I
someone
don't
out of
even
your
think
brain.
Melchi's that level. I think Melchi falls into generic rebel trooper.
Yeah,
Like guys fighting alongside you.
yeah. Like he's great. Melchi's great. Nothing against him as a person. He does a lot of cool stuff everywhere he shows up. It's just if you're gonna forget about someone, it's him.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, and plus he is not with the main group on Scarif. He's with the troopers.
Yeah.
So I would have liked to see some Bodhi in this show.
I thought
'Cause
we
he's got an
would.
interesting story.
Like we
Yeah, I
talked
thought
about
we would too.
how we were sure that Galen was going to be there, or I
I definitely
was,
thought he was gonna be in it.
and he wasn't. There wasn't really. I guess Lena So had the biggest cameo, which is crazy.
Well, I opened up the episodes like on Disney Plus, and you can't really help but see the next three. And I saw the third one was called like something something in Erso. So I was like, oh, we're gonna see him. No,
Mm-hmm. It's
we're
just
gonna
the
hear
words.
about him.
Yeah. I got the so I recorded the episodes last night before I started watching them, and so I was like popping into the room to see when the recording was done. So I saw like the last scene with Bix and B2 on Mina Rao, I think it's called.
You spoiled yourself.
Well, what I thought was that it was like showing like Galen and Jin for some
Oh,
reason, because I just got like a brief flash of farmland. And so I didn't know if it was Mina Rao. I thought it was something to do with Jin and Galen, but
hmm.
because I didn't get a good. I was trying not to look at it, but I saw the flash as I opened the door.
Yeah, I
And
couldn't see that either because I had fucking tears streaming down my face.
but I guess episode 11, Cassian, they get the call. Willman has been checking his communicator device. They need to go get Clea. We've talked about a lot of it, but we get the extraction. Cassian is not listening to orders very well.
No,
It's not his
classic.
thing. I did enjoy the or not
Like
poker.
mahjong, like
Yeah, whatever game they were playing. I don't know if that's a prior named one, but
I really liked how when Wilman goes to put the thing down, they're both like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" Like, don't fuck my game up.
we're fucking with K2. We're fucking with K2.
Yeah,
But that was fun.
yeah, I really like that as well. They, real. We only got a little Alan for this season, but what we
Yeah.
did get was excellent.
Yep.
He jumped right back into the role, obviously, and he was back. I was like, oh, okay, they're keeping him on the ship because he's expensive to animate.
Mm-hmm.
No, not quite. Not quite.
Look, he came through.
Yeah.
They weren't expecting to come across anyone in the building. I don't think so. You got to have
They needed to be a little faster.
yeah,
They needed to be a little faster.
and less conspicuous. I think that's the main
Yeah.
thing. Because you
One thing
see
about
you see a KX droid walking around, and you kind of know something's up.
One thing about Coruscant is like I've kind of just been waiting for a character to simply disappear into Coruscant because it's just such a massive city and like you could just disappear. But I guess with Clea and Luthen, the thing was their intel was so crucial. They had to get it to the
Mhm.
rebels ASAP because you'd think like a character like Clea, she could just disappear out into the Undercity, eventually get a ship. But I guess getting a pickup to Yavin would be tough because it's not
Mhm.
like you just can put Yavin into a Nava computer and get there.
Yeah, like she had nowhere to go. She didn't seem to want to leave per se. Like she was trying to get the information out, but I don't think until Cassian kind of forced her that she was actually going to go anywhere. She probably thought
Mm.
that her life was kind of done as well. But a while back, I'm not sure how long ago exactly, Chedring asked, is Dedra being cut down by the ISP because she broke protocol or because the Empire fears competency? We kind of touched on this, like just as explicitly as possible. It's because
like-
she put together all this information that shouldn't have been put together, and she should have known not to put that together. Because, like, as Krennic's whole thing was, if you're not a rebel spy, you missed your
Why are you doing
calling because, like, you are doing literally everything that a really good rebel spy would do, and you are why they have this information now. So she's thinking like, oh, I'm being so good getting this information together, other people are stonewalling me. But as far as Krennic's concerned, as far as the ISB is concerned, This information is kept separate for a reason. It's the same reason that when I was working on phone lines for the census, we couldn't just call the CRA to ask for people's information, because you don't want to just have the information going back and forth like that. That's a bad thing for privacy. You want people to be able to lie to the census or to the CRA and still tell the truth on their census, that kind of thing. So you got to know, you got to have some OPSEC.
Seems like I wasn't sure whether she was actually told of the Death Star.
No, she put it together.
Yeah, okay.
Like she put
I wasn't sure
together.
if she also,
Yeah.
She was like, say it, and she, yeah. So, not great.
Yeah.
Not
Like
great
this
for her.
is.
She had it coming. Although, also the other thing is like, why not? That's the other thing. Like, why'd they do it? Why not? There's a billion others waiting to step in. She is competent, but she's like, she doesn't respect any sort of protocol. We saw that from, season 1. It's been happening the whole time.
Yeah, because she
We didn't talk
is
about Lonnie's
effectively a
death, by the
fanatic.
way.
Sorry, Lonnie's death?
We didn't talk about Lonnie's death, yeah. Just
Luthen
quick
did it
rest
to
in
him.
peace, King.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He put it out on the line. Shouldn't have done it.
The second he said that, he said Yavin, I knew there was no way.
I was
like-
kind of surprised. I was a little bit surprised when he did it after that. I thought he would kill him until that point. I was like, okay, why are you talking about Yavin unless you're trying to reassure him that there like is a thing? Like I don't remember if there was any mustachioed men in the background. He'd fit right in actually in the background of Yavin.
He would, yeah. I was hoping he would make it because I really like his character. But no.
Look, he's a guy who was in a position to do something. He wanted to get out all the time. He kind of did it. Like he was conflicted in a way that I think makes sense, where he was in this job because it's hard to get out. Like there's a lot going on there that I thought was handled really well.
He was in an exceptionally risky position.
Yeah.
And he got a blaster bolt for his troubles.
Yeah. That's the thing with working with Luthen. Eventually, like he has burned every bridge, but
yeah, and we see Cassian do the exact same thing at the beginning of Rogue One.
Do you think his family got out though?
Hell no.
No.
I don't think Luthen was pretty busy with other stuff.
Well, someone could come back from. Well, no one knew that Lonnie was involved. Luthen was his one way out, and now they're fucked.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? But yeah, a lot of people were talking in the chat are talking about Clea. She did a phenomenal job. We mentioned her already. Anything else for episode 11? Or really, we talked about most of it now, I think.
Douglesbury, did they think Dedra was the mole? Yeah, that was... They thought at least she could be. And she was acting exactly how she would if she was. And that kind of shows here. Yeah. And here it seems to realize that, oh, maybe not, and I'm kind of heading down the same thing. Like, I really like that scene where she's being held, and then Hirt goes to talk to her. Like, his ass is now the next one on the line,
yeah.
And it's just because he's the one that has to do something now. And you immediately he's going into this like self-preservation mode out of the competition way, because Dedra's already out of the way, but now he knows he's fucked. So it's great.
Yeah. That's a promotion you don't want to get.
Yeah.
Because your ass is now grass, and
so many people choking on their ambition.
Yeah. And more to choke on their ambitions as well.
There you go. So what were you saying before I rudely interrupted you?
I'm just trying to think of what else we got to talk about. I mean, great stuff. I really like the ending.
Yeah.
I really like the ending montage. It had the same music as Cassian leaving in episode 3, which was one of my favorite scenes of the show. That time with Luthen, this time he's like escaping. This time he's walking towards, his own death, whether he knows it or not.
Yeah.
Probably not, but he gets one little fun mission to what's it called? What's that planet called again?
Kafrene?
Yeah, the Ring of Kafrene. Which I was watching Rogue One, and one thing I will say, like, the movie props are still just no surprise, a million times better. Like, the amount of aliens we get on Kafrene, and it's really cool.
Yeah. Not many aliens in Andor. I
No,
I praise it in other shows when it happens. I have to call it out in Andor that if I'm
yeah.
going to be consistent,
We do get
absolutely
grandma
ruins the
alien.
show. But yeah, fucking ET looking thing, Nesorian maybe. I'm not sure.
She was also on, well, not her specifically, probably, but they also had some of those on Niamos as well,
Hmm. It seems
which is
like
fun.
Andor, when it does have aliens, goes out of its way to use aliens that I don't recognize. I don't know if they're all
Yeah.
new or if it's just more obscure species that I don't
Yeah,
recognize.
like no, very few Twi'leks. I don't think we saw a Rhodian once.
It seemed to
All
make
reliables.
the aliens seem to make Clea uncomfortable.
Part of it
maybe
is
maybe that's something they need to talk about.
because we didn't get any gangsters.
Hmm.
Really, the gangsters are
Yeah,
always aliens.
yeah. I mean, they're for a show that is so like politically charged. I think there's the out of universe like production reasons to do that, where it's like it's expensive to have aliens, and I feel like Tony Gilroy would think it distracts from things more. It kind of
Yeah.
puts it into this version of Star Wars that he doesn't seem to respect as much.
Yeah.
Uh, but like that does lead to the extra political implications in the show, in universe. The Holmesian interpretation of like ultimately the rebellion and the Empire. The Empire fractures because of these human divisions,
Yeah.
and the alien stuff they were doing before was okay. And then it
Yeah.
ultimately
Once you
just
start,
becomes down
oh,
to
you do
what are
it
the
to the
humans willing to
Wookiees, no
do?
one cares.
Yeah,
A couple hundred Gorman get killed, and oh, Mon Mothma's got to quit the Senate now.
yeah.
It's like, bro, they killed all the Lasat, all of them.
All the Lasat, all the Geonosians, Wookiees are all slaves. But and again,
But
like
I
there's
do feel like,
people chattering and chatting. The show relies on expression much more. It's hard. It makes faces too stiff.
yeah,
Like that's what I'm saying first with like the out of universe
yeah,
exploration. I understand like the reasons that this doesn't happen in shows as much, and especially in this show where it is so much more about expression. They don't just use like stilted expository dialogue where you can have half the episode where no one says anything. It's just the facial expressions, the music, the way they're moving. Like it's I totally get that. I'm just saying like if you just take the show as itself at face value in universe, then you end up with the uh more of those implications that I think are at least interesting.
yeah. Like you can't do the Gorman massacre without humans. Even Twi'leks, I think, would have taken away from it.
Yeah.
Oh my god, 4-0.
And I think like the Gorman were always human in
Yeah,
the original stuff as well. But yeah.
yeah,
Because you're getting these rich, not quite core, but colonies worlds that are like just outside the core. But yeah. I think so. Episode 12 of season 1 was probably the strongest of the season, if not the strongest and like
yeah,
up there. And I
yeah.
feel like if episode 12 here suffered from anything, it's that it is setting up so much for Rogue One, where there was a bit of a denouement, a denouement going on, where it felt more like the penultimate episode of something because it goes into Rogue One, where it is wrapping these things up, but I didn't feel like there was quite as much going on as
No, it was
episode
more
9
like
or 10, 11.
even an epilogue for the show,
Yeah,
in a way, where
yeah,
like nothing truly surprising happened. Like Luthen, I think we like if we were gonna guess one character would die, I think it'd be Luthen.
hmm,
Um, and yeah, like most of it is really just the characters being set on their way, but that's kind of like it's payoff really
yeah, for
for
sure.
taking the time for 2 full seasons, making these really lovely characters, these deep characters. You know, there's almost no, I don't think there's a single other Star Wars show which could take a character like Willman, who was just some pretty much nameless, like how many, not that many people could name Willman's character after season 1.
Yeah,
Um, he's a dude who, like, you got to pay attention to what's going on in the background. You got to be like, okay, this is this kid from the street, not another one. Uh, and like, there's so many characters like that, like Vel, like, and really, even Andor, like the last episode got to pay that off. It really is just pure emotion and drama,
Hmm.
but it's earned, and that's
Yep,
kind
absolutely.
of the best, the kind of the best in a way. It like makes it so memorable.
Yeah. And I hope we get more like this in the future. I hope that this being as good as it was gives them more confidence to do this kind of like more serious, more grounded show in the future. I know the viewership numbers, or at least from what I saw, the viewership numbers aren't huge, but the signups for Disney Plus were significant compared to other shows. So I'm hoping that's a good sign.
I'm noticing a lot more interest on my channel. I'll
Yeah.
just say
Yeah,
this year compared to last year.
Andor for me, like this has been I think my most viewed month as well on Datapad. Or getting
Mhm.
close. If it was extrapolated throughout the month, then it would be. But there's the overlap between April and May that throws it off a
Right.
little bit. Which
Um,
I wish they'd just save Tales of the Underworld for a few weeks from now. Like I understand wanting to release stuff on Star Wars Day, but it just got so
I haven't
steamrolled
done.
by Andor.
I haven't done a single Tales of video. I haven't even watched it yet. So
Like I want to rewatch it now that I'm done with Andor. Because it just because I had so much shit going on, it was really a second monitor experience when I did watch it, and
yeah.
I'll give it more of a chance with that. But like it just I feel like it's too much content in one week. There, you had 6 episodes of Tales. Even with splitting it up between uh the 2 days earlier for the first 2 episodes on Fortnite, that only helps so much. And then you have 3 episodes of Andor. Like in a 7-day period, you had 9 new episodes of Star Wars stuff, followed the next day in that cycle by 3 more episodes.
Yeah, and I was watching three or four NHL playoff games a night.
Yeah.
So I agree. Not a great time.
So what's
Uh,
next?
well, we got to talk about one more thing. We haven't
Okay,
talked about the last scene. The baby,
the
really.
baby.
Yeah, the child.
Would you like to see the
The
child?
unnamed, ungendered child. I tweeted this and I truly believe it. Like I think it is a cliche moment. I mean it's exactly to a T almost what happened in Star Wars Rebels, except the timing's a little different.
Hmm.
But I honestly think Andor has been so not cliche through its entire run that it deserves
Yeah,
to have a moment like that. Like
yeah,
these characters have been through so much. There's been so few moments where like in a worse show it would have been Clea breaking into the hospital and wheeling him out of there and he's saved on Yavin. But
under her
like,
cloak.
yeah, under her cloak, yeah. Her victory is she gets to kill him.
Yeah,
So having a little hope, especially because
yeah,
we know what's about to happen in Rogue One. Like it's not
yeah,
going to get any better. It's going to get worse for so many of these characters.
yeah. Having like the scene with Clea, like watching the troopers come through and like seeing what her and Luthen's work has kind of come to, having that moment of opening up for her, having Bix and B2 and the baby running off into the field. Like I think that was really needed, and I think that really helps give more meaning. Like you can really easily do dark for the sake of dark, and I think without some kind of hopeful message at the end, even if I like super enjoy the show and like am on board with all the messaging and everything in it, I feel like it does need that bit of levity, like this like sign of hope, because rebellions are built on hope, and then if you just kill everyone, there's not much hope there.
Yeah, it's kind of like the end of Revenge of the Sith, where it's just such a dark and melodramatic movie, and then at the end, there's the last scene is Han with his aunt and uncle,
Hmm.
who seem like they hate him. I'm joking, but they're happy. They're all happy for 5 minutes there while they're watching the sunset.
Well, I think like the dark for the sake of dark is what we're going to be looking at a lot with Legacy of the Force. So yeah, I think you meant Luke, but yeah,
Oh yeah,
you
sorry, I
said
meant
you
Luke.
said Han.
I said Han.
Yeah, like what
Not
deleted
even
scene are
Leia.
you watching? I knew what you meant. Gotta be explicit for the
Well, there
chat.
was going to be a Han subplot in Revenge of the Sith.
That's what I thought you were referring to, like Han and the Millennium Falcon, or you see the Millennium Falcon, but like having young Han in Episode 3 was gonna be
Fucking
a thing.
George could not help himself. He really couldn't.
Look,
Like Chewbacca in the movie is fucking ridiculous. Like you cut all the intrigue out of Mon Mothma and the delegation of whatever 2000. You have Yoda saying, "Thank you, my friend Chewbacca."
it's
Come
just
on.
Chewbacca was fucking with Luke the whole time, or maybe this is just proof that Han doesn't understand Chewie. Like Chewie
Yeah.
might have been telling Luke the whole time, like I know this Jedi. He's great. I can vouch for Yoda. I've got this picture of him right here. I know you're going to look for him on Dagobah.
Yeah, they talk about dad lore. Like Chewbacca's got crazy dad lore. It's like, oh yeah, I met Yoda. No way, Dad. Really? Oh yeah, yeah. I gave him a piggyback ride once, actually.
Yeah.
Saw him cut two dudes' heads off. It was sick.
It was epic. Yeah.
It was so cool.
All right. Any other Andor thoughts? Where's this rank
Masterpiece.
in? Where's this rank in your
Number one.
hierarchy of shows? Number one.
Number one.
I'm
Yeah,
agreeing
number
with
one.
you.
Yeah. With season one, you know, I love Mando so much, and no.
So a
This
video.
is the show.
I was gonna do a video of ranking the Star Wars show seasons. Do you think maybe we do that as a TapCaf episode instead?
That'd be
One of the
fun.
middle ones.
Yeah. This show, like every week, I'd watch these block of episodes, and I'd be thinking about them all week.
Yeah.
Like very few shows, especially Star Wars shows, do that to me.
Yeah.
Like especially as I get older, you know, media less. I'd say has except for books, but like movies and television have a little less impact on me. But this show was thinking about it all week, especially these last two arcs. So
especially for something with 2 to 2.5 hours of total runtime per week, like I would start watching the episodes and I'd be basically hooked the whole time. And I couldn't even necessarily say that about like the 3-episode block that came out in Andor season 1 or any of the other arcs in season 1 if I'd watched them together. So like I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I mentioned this in one of my reviews. Like I am like phone brained. Like I fully acknowledge it. Like I get too much screen time. If I'm watching hockey, I'm like reading what Twitter thinks about hockey on my phone. Last night I slept in I fell asleep putting the kids to bed. And then I woke up and I was like, I'm just gonna like I don't need to watch this right when it comes out. I'm just gonna like get asleep. And I realized halfway through episode 1, I was like, my phone went on me, and I watched all 3 episodes. I'm like, wow, I was like fully engaged, and I am so phone brained. It's pretty rare that happens. I don't get to appreciate media like that very often anymore. So yeah, like I can't think of anything that I wish this show would have done. Like I don't know, I would have liked to see, I guess, some more space scenes because I like space scenes, but would it have added anything? Probably not really. So yeah. I don't think there'll ever be a Star Wars show better than this. Hopefully they prove me wrong, but crazy what they set out to do in season 1 and have brought home in season 2.
Even just as a show, like not even with the Star Wars qualifier, like this is really good stuff.
Yeah. And hopefully I think it's going to radicalize some people. Yeah. I'm not even joking. I do think it might radicalize some people in a good way.
In a good way. Did just get a donation from Bane's Basement. Thank you very much. Asking, any tips on content to fill the hole Andor is leaving? Devoured back to war after Gorman, rest in peace. But Andor was just something else.
I was thinking about that. Like, Plagueis is kind of like the anti-Andor, where it's like a lot of political maneuvering, but from the other side.
And lots of glub shittos. Like the good, like the well-handled version of that. I did a video...
Which you just read?
What's that, sorry?
What book did the donator said they just read before?
Back to War.
I was going to say, the Wraith Squadron trilogy, honestly, is close in some ways.
I did a video a while back of books to read if you like Andor. This was before Mask of Fear came out. But if you want to check that video out, I think I included the ones that I think are the most tonally similar, or the ones that engage with these kinds of themes in a way that made me think about it for months afterwards and always want to reread them is the Alphabet Squadron trilogy.
Yeah.
They can be slow, but like in the same way that watching Andor can start off slow. So if you're okay with that here, you probably are going to be okay with that there. Especially when you get to Victory's Price, the third book in the trilogy. I think
Yeah.
it's really good in a lot of the same ways that Andor is really good. And I
Yeah.
think the reasons it's really good, the stuff that Alexander Freed does there is the same kind of stuff that he did in Mask of Fear. So if you haven't read Mask of Fear that just came out, I didn't include it in the video because I think it was announced like right after I made the video, right before. But I recommend reading that as well.
This is one that's kind of off the. This is a really weird one, but
New Rebellion.
no, TIE Fighter, the TIE Fighter game.
Okay.
Just because it presents the universe pretty much completely seriously. You get to see Imperial Coruscant. Yeah, I just think the TIE Fighter game would be a interesting one to play. Really, all the TIE Fighter, X-Wing Alliance, Shatterpoint could be a decent book to read, I think. There's elements of Shatterpoint in like some of the brutal aspects of Andor.
Even just the Revenge of the Sith novel that Matthew Stover did. Like maybe is something that's a step closer or a step more familiar.
Yeah. Trying to think if there's anything else.
Traitor.
Yeah. There's not a lot. There's not a lot that's Andor-like, so.
Catalyst.
The Anarchist Cookbook, maybe. I'd check that out.
Catalyst, even the Rogue One novelization.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Anarchist Cookbook
even
is...
Lost Stars is kind of... Lost Stars
on a list. Yeah, that's another good one.
Yep. Yeah, good question, but there's some good options.
Yep.
Some good options.
All right. So, future of Star Wars shows, we've got what's coming out this year. Visions Volume are we in 3 or 4? 3. Plus the show that like the standalone show or one of the shorts being made into a show. Yeah. Man, there's Ahsoka season 2 next year, probably.
Hopefully.
Like, what other shows even? I don't know if there's anything else. A bunch of movies, but
yeah, I don't know.
Game-wise, anything? No, not until Zero Company next year. It might be a slow second half of the year.
I'm concerned.
Yeah. Well.
Join the Patreon, guys. And yeah, thanks for... I mean, we don't actually have one for the podcast. We should start one at some point. But any final thoughts on your end, Corey?
No, love the show. Hope we get more like this in some form in the future. Sad it's over.
Mm-hmm. Bad Batch is not a bad option.
Yeah. But next week, Legacy of the Force Betrayal. We're starting.
Is that what we're doing next week? Okay, I couldn't remember if we were doing that or Tales of the Underworld next week.
We could do Tales next week. We could do Betrayal the week after that. But I think we told Ilkin the 21st for Betrayal. I mean, it's a long book.
Ilkin will always want more time to read. So
yeah, we can do Tales next week. And yeah, we'll do Tales next week. Then we'll do Betrayal the week after.
And we got to do our Rogue One watch we talked about.
Yeah, so if we do Tales, then we do Betrayal. We can do either Rogue One or the Star Wars TV series ranking.
I think we should try to do Rogue One soon. We'll interest us all high.
Sure. Do you want to just do Rogue One next week?
Yeah, sure.
Then yeah, let's just do Rogue One next week, then Betrayal, and then we can do either Tales or the show ranking. Because I don't think interest in Tales is really going to fluctuate that much. I think it's already it started off not super high. But yeah.
All right, goodbye everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of TapCaf Transmissions. If you're watching on the live stream, you can click the links in the descriptions. It'll take you to the Spotify or the Podbean or the iTunes. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can get Tapcaf Transmissions. If you enjoy the podcast and these live streams, leave a like whether you're watching on my side or Corey's side, and it really, really helps if you leave a review or a rating on the podcast. The likes help a lot. It's free. The ratings help a lot. They're also free.
The best part,
But-
even the negative reviews fucking help us. So take that.
Yeah. Don't leave those, please, though.
No,
They
it
don't harm
hurts
my
our,
psyche.
it hurts our feelings. Bye, everyone.
Emotional